street trash, Wastelands. And here are your hosts, long-time partners in slime, Adam Obscene and Mark.
Hello world, this is Wastelands. I'm Adam Obscene, and with me, as always, is the mighty, he's very mighty, Disrupt Marco Mark.
Hey, Adam. Hey, listeners. So good to be with you this evening. Thank you for tuning in and enjoy.
So, back by popular demand.
Yeah, some people have been asking about this.
Part 2 of the Cane Punk Chronicles.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to talk about the next part of the Disrupt Youth story.
Okay.
Marco, I guess this is the bit where I sort of set the scene by asking you to explain something that has perplexed me about our time, our friendship, and our Cane Punk days.
Okay.
So the last Disrupt Youth episode, we sort of talked about the origin. We talked about like how and why and when you sort of formed the band and why you formed the band and who you chose to be in that band with you. Moving forward, once the band had been established and you'd actually got a repertoire down and you were sort of like kicking goals, Sunny Coast was a pretty difficult place to play, find places to play, right, for a starting up band.
Yeah, considering that at least half of us were under the age of 18, yes.
So tell me right now, and the listeners, what you did to remedy that.
Okay. Did a kind of Ian Mackay sort of minor threat thing and put on our own shows at local community halls. I'd been influenced by that from seeing high school bands play at these halls in our sort of rural area. And they were just small little community halls. Town hall, I guess you'd call them. And you could rent them out for a party, for a Bucks night, whatever. You know, they were just a really basic wooden hall.
Colonial, almost speaking, right?
Almost a colonial hall, yeah, with the kitchen area, you know, of varying sizes, but invariably a portrait of Queen Elizabeth.
So, Marco, just quickly on that, these halls were generally run by ma and pa committees, like volunteer committees. Yeah. And listeners, so that you can place this put a pin in a map, we are kind of like talking about the Maroochy sub-hinterland. It's sort of like this golden triangle of these little towns called Diddillibah or Woombai or Udlo, which inevitably each one of these railway towns or cane farm towns had a central location. And they're not even towns, like literally it's fields and a couple of houses and a town hall.
Yeah, it's an intersection.
Yeah, and the one that we're talking about first off is effectively an intersection in the middle of cane country, right?
Yeah, that's right. And just to sort of, for those playing at home, just to skip back over and recap, we come from the same area as the Chats and Powderfinger, those guys. And
6 foot hick, if you're into that.
What's that?
6 foot hick.
Yeah, and the Sunshine Coast north of Brisbane in Queensland, Australia. I had really enjoyed going to see these high school shows when I was younger, a couple of years younger, and I hadn't actually wasn't even really thinking in the realm of playing at a pub or a hotel or getting on the pub circuit. I hadn't even thought of that really. It was what I really went straight for were the community hall, do-it-yourself, all ages shows. Even though I wasn't straight edge at the time, I really liked Fugazi, and I really liked Black Flag, and I really liked their, you know, you'd hear the mythical stories by the time they got to us in little town Australia of them playing at, you know, veterans halls and community halls and, you know, roller skating rinks and house parties, wherever they could turn up. So I just retraced my steps back to where I'd seen a couple of high school bands. And the first one that I chose was the Diddillibah Hall. You'll see it in writing when this comes out, guys, but it's a bit of a funny thing to say. Diddillibah Hall. And I set up a date to have a show there in March 1995, Saturday, March 18th, 1995. There we go. And I called it Punk Party because that's exactly what it was. And I wanted it to be an all-ages event. I had in my mind a kind of like, DC kind of, everyone's thrashing but having a great time kind of punk rock show, really super inclusive. And I appreciated being able to go and see a band when I was underage a few years previously. So I thought I'd kind of pay it forward. And I was hoping that by putting on a show like this, fingers crossed, it would go well. And, you would create a really good Saturday night and see some local bands for kids that were maybe too young or too naive to know how to go and do that at the local pub.
So, Marco, we both lived in Diddillibah at that time, right? We were.
Yep.
So that's for us. It was our own hood, but in saying that, being a regional community, there was a couple of Ks between houses, right? It wasn't just like around the corner. When I say we lived in Diddillibah, Diddillibah Road is like 15 kilometres long.
Yeah, that's right. These aren't urban centres that we're talking about. These are small country towns, hamlets that fall within a larger area called the Sunshine Coast, which is a very famous tourist destination now.
What I loved is those areas, like Nat Hall and our houses, were actually connected by cane rail tracks. You could actually walk between our places along the cane tracks amongst the cane fields and dodge snakes and
that's right. That's right. Yeah, a lot of this was all in the middle of cane fields and shows of their own, I don't know, in the middle of cornfields and wheat fields or something like that. I'm sure there's other iterations out there. And that just happened to be the sweetest of them all, cane.
And we sort of sit on that title of cane punk because of that very thing. The shows that were created were in the middle of fucking cane fields.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And I was pretty young. Like I was trying to mastermind this, and I was pretty young. I was probably only about 19, and I was thinking I thought things like, let's make it $4. I'm looking at the flyer in front of me now, which I created. Let's make it $4 so that I can give you, we can, because there's definitely more than me involved. So we can give you $1 back from folding money, we wanted to be able to give people change from folding money. $4, man, it was not a lot to ask.
Three bands for $4?
Yeah, it was three bands.
Michael, before we jump into the actual gig, can you...
Okay, all right. Direct me because I'll just go into it.
I want to set the scene at actually how you scored the venue. What did you have to do to book the hall?
I probably had to call the sign out the front. I can't quite remember, but I did have to go and have a face-to-face meeting with the old hippie lady who lived, down a 2-kilometer long driveway behind the hall itself.
The hall manager.
The hall manager. I did have to go and talk with her. She was lovely, man. She was just the most lovely person. And I explained what I wanted to do, and she was all behind it. First, that was the first meeting. And then I went back the second time closer to the day, and I grabbed the keys and gave her the deposit and security money. So from memory, that's all I had to do with them. I think I had to go back. Oh, gosh. Consider, guys, this was 1995. So there's parts that really stick in my mind, and there's parts that have faded away a bit. And I guess returning the keys a third time must have happened, or we left them in the locked in. Yeah, in the letterbox, locked in the letterbox. Yeah. Why am I missing anything there?
No, I just think it's interesting because we're talking pre-internet, so this literally is ring the number on the front of the front and probably from a phone sort of business. So
make phone calls and go and speak to the people in person. Absolutely, that's what this was.
Online booking forms.
Oh no, this was. There was no online booking forms. No. This was
no internet. Marco, can you remember how much it cost?
I think it was about $80 to secure the. No, hang on. It was that. Now, hang on. There was more to the budget than just the hall, but I think it was $80.
Yeah, because you had to bring in PA and sound equipment.
I hired in a company that would bring in the lighting rig and PA and a mixer all in one. So I don't remember what the cost for that was. Call it 150, man. Call it 200, something like that.
It's I think it's just like setting the scene. The door cost is one thing, and the number of bands. But
I got ahead.
But I think it's important to state that 19-year-old dudes basically doing it for themselves. Had to pull the cash up, and look, it doesn't sound like a lot now, but it was real money. It was money that had to be found, right, to pull this together. And there was no, it was driven from the need to do it yourself and want to do it for others.
That's right. Yeah, the drive was definitely there. So here's how I tackled the money part of it. So I had a budget. It was a pretty simple budget. It was the hall hire. And it was the PA and lighting rig and mixing all in one. And that was done through, friend of a friend sort of deal. So tell me guide me with this, ads, because I'll go down the rabbit hole. I didn't have the money to cover it all at the time. But I knew, but I had the bands lined up. It was our band, Disrupt Youth. Another very close friend of ours band called Conspiracy. They were young, like this. They were a high school band, and Dry Heave, which we mentioned in our last Disrupt Youth podcast, who was another high school band, but were like just so amazing. They went on to play with Propaganda and all these huge bands. They were, I think, even Citizen Fish. They copped a show with. They were a very good band, and Marcus, we were proud enough to have Marcus, who was the guitarist and lead vocalist from Dry Heave, playing bass in Disrupt Youth. So that was very cool. So I knew we had these three bands, and I knew how many members were in this band. It turned out that if I could get $50 each off of these band members, including myself, I'd be able to cover the outlay, right? So, which I thought was pretty cheeky. Who does that now, man? So I contacted each of the band members. Disrupt Youth was no worries because it was my own band. Dry Heave said yes. They all said yes really quickly, right? And none of the lads, except for one who I think was just, you're asking basically a teenage boy to come up with $50 in 1995 was a bit of an ask. So I had one of them that, through no fault of his own, by the day it needed to be paid, couldn't come up with his $50. And I think it either got into my hand at the very last minute, or someone just went, here's an extra 50. And it all came together completely.
It was like that self-funded is almost like a collective, right? It's not, like it wasn't a business. It was basically the bands all wanted to play, and everyone coughed up, and it's sort of like that DIY collective, like you're talking about.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was it's a really important point, because it wasn't just about a promoter wanting to put shows on to fleece kids for cash. It was actually about bands wanting to play to an audience, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, let's talk. I'll tell you about the money side of it, because it was a successful part of the evening. Let's talk about the money part of it from front to back, and then you can ask me questions, answer away, because this actually worked out really well. And like, we were all very surprised by this. So it worked out. Each band member of the 3 bands gave me $50. I took that money, and that worked out to be the exact money to pay for the people to turn up and, lighting, sound, mixing, and hire the actual venue. But what I did, Adam, and you probably remember this, and I don't know if I would have the kahunas to do it now, but I said to each band member, you lend me $50. I will give you that $50 back, plus I'll double it for each individual, and then I will pay the band $150. So I was promising to pay, reimburse their $50 and double it, and pay their band $150 cash. Okay,
so what's that? Quick sums.
If you got a 4-piece band, you've already got to give them $400. Yeah. So I was promising each band $550.
$550, as well as then the pay. Yeah, so it was looking at $4 a head and needing to return back over $2,000. Yeah.
So I had that was, I felt pretty confident about that actually at the time. So I promised each member, you give me 50, I'll give it back to you. I'll also double it, and also pay your band, your garage band. You guys are like in high school. I will give you all as a group $150. And everyone said, yeah, man, no worries.
So testament to that, you were able to achieve that, right?
Yes.
So people always say, these punk party gigs and we say that they were really successful, and folklore goes down that it wasn't just a couple of hundred. There was, let's talk about how many kids actually turned up to this thing.
A lot.
It was a lot. We're talking about a small community hall. More people paid than could actually get into that hall.
Yeah. It was a very small venue.
So with those facts in check, the amount of money that was required to pay everyone back and to cover costs, the rough calculations are roughly around 600, 700 people paid.
You'll have to speak up, man.
600 to 700 people paid.
Yeah, that sounds about right. That's amazing.
And I guess the reason why I think that's interesting footage, because a lot of people will say, when we say, 600, 700 people paid, people that turned up, because this is the other thing everyone's got to realize too, is that the hall was pumping. The park and the adjacent areas and properties were full of people. Literally could have been close to 1,000 kids.
It was like a Van Halen film clip from 1981. Yeah, it was a car park party.
And people people just go, bullshit. Oh, there's no way you had, but we've got the evidence, mate, because the financials don't lie. Someone had to pay money to actually come in to pay everybody back, right?
Well, look, I'll tell you what. Yeah, that's right, Ad. I'll tell you what happened. Everyone got paid. Everyone had fun. The people the professionals that we paid all got paid up front, cash. Everybody that came, no one gave us any hassles at all. It felt very like a unified, very united thing to do. No one came there to fuck the place up or fight or stir any trouble. That was to come later. But this was a very positive thing front to back.
I think the one thing there, and it's not even an only thing, it was just it paints a picture for the listeners too of the caring environment that was being fostered by you. Is there was so many kids there. It was so packed that
it was so packed.
There was not really much. There was not much space between the front of the hall, the lawned area, and actual Diddillibah Road, to the point where I had to run down the road and call my old man, and he jumped in his ute, came back up with his high vis, and did traffic control for like 8 hours.
Amazing, Adam.
Because of the simple fact is there was just too many kids.
Yeah. Because I had created this flyer that you pointed out the other day. I drew a map on it of exactly how to get to this little community hall.
On Insta, because that's
you did?
Cool. We'll put that up for this show.
Oh, that's great. we went on a furious flyer campaign.
Yeah.
We gave flyers out to fucking everyone, man. We gave them out to everybody. We put a few posters up around as well, but mainly it was just flyers. Boom, 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 flyers at other people's shows. Boom, 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 flyers, and it worked, man. We that the saying the hackneyed thing. No internet back then, so if someone hands you a flyer, you're getting some real time information. And they also knew how to get there, and they also knew it was BYO. So that instantly meant that you were going to get a lot of people there who maybe want to make a bit of a party out of it, don't want any hassles, And so anyway,
it worked. It was a car park, and it was great because it didn't have a car park. It was basically cars. Imagine, if you will, listeners, Kingswoods and Falcons and Datsuns all parked on the lawn in and around a community hall, and people hanging out in, I think there might have been a playground next to it, and people just were setting up picnic rugs on the ground at like 8:30 at night, just chilling and relaxing, and then there was just a constant, very like almost regimented way that people just were going moderating, going in and out, because there was only so many people could get into the hall. So everyone sort of understood that. So people were standing on the outside, standing close, and then as two people would leave, two would enter. It was very
yeah. It was very yeah. It was Thunderdome. Two men enter, one man leave. It went really well. Like, even to the people there who went at the time. Like, to this day, I'm grateful for everybody that came along with that sense of fun, and with that sense of community, and with that sense of being able to do something that was like important for them on a Saturday night, like, because these guys were from high schools, and people that they were representing their high school, you know what I mean? So nobody wanted to fuck with that. No. I'll take you back around to the money again, so we can move on. Yeah. You said we had $4 per head. I ended up doing that. I gave each band member their 50 back, another 50, and then on top of that, paid the whole band $150. And I did that to Disrupt Youth as well. But we also had left over, and guys, we weren't selling merchandise. We weren't selling anything. We only had $4 for $1995 was the only revenue we were earning from that, and the money that was left over after we had paid everyone fucking amply was enough to go in and record our first album, the one that got released on Beer City Records. It paid for all the rehearsal time, it paid for the recording, it paid for the mixing and the mastering, and the music side of it. It paid for all of that to get a cut over to Beer City, to Milwaukee.
So that was
was fantastic.
That was the self-titled 7-inch.
Yeah, that's right. That you did the artwork for.
That you actually paid me for.
Did I pay you for that?
Yeah, out of the money from the first punk party.
Oh God, I've always worried about that. It's like,
no, you paid. I think you paid me like $100 or something.
Oh, sweet. So everybody got paid, people, for $4. And it was a really, really good time. And I made so many good friends. I think actually everybody made really good friends that night, but I had a really good time making friends, especially with the bands. And I'll never forget the looks on their faces when I gave them the money. Yeah. They were like, "You fucking kidding me?" Especially Bo from Conspiracy, who I had to meet down there, in the cold, harsh light of the next day. Like, oh, God, I'll bring your money down. And to give a teenage boy, a fat water 50s is a pretty good feeling. And Bo, if you're out there, man, you went on to do so much for us in that scene, for young people in the Sunshine Coast as well, mate. And you've become a great member of the artistic community. So never forgot you either, and hats off to you.
I think that's really important to say, that this was a launch pad for, although the first punk party was inspired by previous, hall parties from bands before that, is the punk party then became a catalyst point where, a bunch of people a lot of people went to. Bo particularly went on to do some great shows out at Udlo Showgrounds called Primal Moves. They were great parties.
Great parties.
So so I think that's just one example of how it's sort of the tendrils of doing something right, doing it for yourself can actually have a long-lasting impact on it.
Yeah, for sure. Well, do you want me to read? Would you indulge me? And I'll read an article from the Brisbane Street Press about it, which kind of sums up everything we've said so far.
Absolutely, and I love the fact that a little punk party in the middle of the cane fields made it all the way to Brisbane Street Press too.
Yeah, that was good. So this is from a Street Press magazine called Rave, and I guess it was from, I don't have a timestamp on it. I'm going to say it was probably August 1995. Anyway, our show, blah, 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 Saturday, March the 8th. You've got to sacrifice something. This is not my writing. This is written by Raylene Coburn. So, Raylene Coburn, if you're still out there, hope your journalism career went really well. And thank you for being at the show in 1995. So, here's what she wrote. You've got to sacrifice some things if you want to put on a gig independently. But to get a place where you can actually have some fun without Nazi bouncers or security wankers hassling you up here on the Sunshine Coast, you virtually have to do it all yourself. So that's what these guys did. They hired a tiny little wooden hall out in the sticks, did all their own advertising, etc., to have a night the way they wanted it. And I think they pulled it off. It was an all-ages gig with 3 local punk bands, so it said. So I thought I'd do the right thing and support the local scene. First on the cards was Dry Heave, great name, who started off a bit shaky, but the crowd didn't seem to care anyway. They were into it from the word go. They played kind of alternative punk. It wasn't absolutely full on, but it was good, even though more practice is needed, in my opinion. Side note, they turned out to be fucking amazing. Anyway, they lacked the necessary cohesion as a band, but to their credit, they did get better as they went on. Boy, they did. And they did the best with what they had to work with. They had a dazzling light display, i.e. one fluoro light, and it wasn't even on the blink, so no strobe effect, and only an overturned wooden bench for the crowd to stage dive off. And they did, damn it. They didn't care. They were having fun. Next up was Conspiracy, who weren't exactly punk, more along the lines of alternative metal or something, but it didn't matter. They were a bit green as well, not literally stupid, but hey, give them a few months. Still, they were quite good. They were quite good. The crowd got into them. It was getting wild up the front, and they were loud. So loud, in fact, that they managed to blow up half the speakers. True, and I think they were pretty proud of it too. Yes. So after a lengthy break, all had been fixed, and Conspiracy finished the rest of their set, including a few decent covers such as Nirvana's Rape Me. Okay. Sorry, there was a fold in the page. Excuse my reading tonight, guys. By the time Disrupt Youth came on, the crowd had thinned out a bit for some reason. Maybe it was bedtime for some of the young'uns, but they should have stayed and risked your grounding. They missed the best band. Definitely the most punk of the 3. They were fast, furious, and fucking loud. With a good mix of originals and covers of Black Flag. A little bit of Black Flag never hurt anyone on a Saturday night, said the lead singer, and he was right. They had the crowd rocking. Even the singer got into the stage diving action, still performing while being supported by the appreciative pit. This night goes to show what you can do if you really want to. If no one can offer you what you want, get off your hairy butt and do it yourself. Diddillibah Hall stood up to the test. Everyone had fun, and nobody got hurt, and nothing happened that couldn't be dealt with by the organisers. A success, more. Thanks, Raylene.
That actually really captured it beautifully, didn't it?
Yeah,
it did. I remembered a few things more. I haven't read that, for probably a good 20 odd years. Having it read to me was like bedtime stories for punks. That was great, man.
Yeah.
I think it's really interesting that the comments about Dry Heave and Conspiracy, like this is like some of their first ever shows. Like literally, like the fact that this happened is miraculous, because where else would it, short of a house party or, which were prevalent across the coast at the time.
Yep.
This was the first legitimate show that they would have played that was actually close to like a real gig, right?
Yeah. And they probably never got paid that well again.
No.
No, I keep talking about the money, but it was
it's a fundamental thing, right? Like it launch padded and catalyzed a whole heap of stuff. Dry Heave went on to do some amazing things. Bo and the crew went on to do things later on. A side note: Bo and I and our mate Callum, who ended up joining Mutiny, we had a band called Tractor Brick that we played. We've got like a tape and everything. A tape, dude. But yeah,
tape, dude.
That was us up in Ilkley, bashing away, playing weird industrial punk noise.
Yeah.
But I think
gotta love it.
It's there was this sort of really great hinterland cane punk sort of vibe, and I think that it moved on and things happened. Other parties happened and other people did other things. But for me, Punk Party 1 is really the one that we just need to get down and record, because like I said, the tendrils of that catalyst event are far reaching, from me deciding to do a fanzine to the bands that were involved on going to become the core central lineups to gigs in and around the sunny coast.
Sure.
Disrupt Youth recording the first 7-inch and getting a deal with Beer City Records. Like there's so much stuff in there from a little tight-knit community that sort of like that gig was the one that sort of, I think even Brisbane players, hang on a second, something's happening up there.
Yeah. That's right. Yeah, I think people took up, well, I think that was because of the article that I just read out. That was from the Brisbane Street Press that was released just down there. Yeah, definitely by the time Disrupt Youth relocated to Brisbane, which is for another day, we were bookable already, and we were well rehearsed, so we were pretty confident to go and start playing in the Big Smoke.
I think too, but without internet too, 1,000 people at a show, the power of that word of mouth is massive, mate.
Yeah, it's
for
massive.
A small community, punk scene. Have that many people at a non-promoter event that was by and large fun and represented what the scene was about at the time. That goes down in folklore. And it would be really interesting to see the spark up of memories from this podcast, from the Lossner group, to sort of, and I really encourage the listeners to like get in contact with us. And if you've got side stories about what you did, or if you attended, or your perspective, because there's lots of different views about what went on, we want to hear about it. And, because I think that this is all part of what the Cane Punk Chronicles is about.
Absolutely.
Individual stories.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it was a really busy night for me. I remember I probably should have kept more of a sober head, but that was part of the fun of it as well. But it was a really busy night for me. So thinking back, I can only imagine how much I missed out on, because it was just event management. I was managing that event, so and playing in it, and So I'd love for anyone on social media who wants to reach out and say hi. I hope we gave you a good Saturday night back in 1995. Like Josh Homme says, it's a night you'll never remember. And it was a great time. And actually, thanks to everyone who was there. If you still remember it and you had a great night, thank you for that. You gave us a good Saturday night back in the 90s as well.
So, mate, and look, it's perfect. Like, if anyone has recollections, like photos, even like we don't have photos from that gig. I'm pretty sure.
No, we don't. We were so busy, man. We were so busy.
You were in inside events managing. Somehow I became self-managed outside event manager.
Yeah.
I don't think we saw each other until the end of the night.
Not till the very end of the night, and we were knackered and drunk. I don't think we even had any actual downtime ads. I think we were just like on stop, like lay down in the swag for a while, get back up, and then, kick out anyone who didn't want to hang around, and everybody else get to work cleaning up.
One of my cleanest memories of that gig is us sitting in the park. It must have been early hours of the morning. The dew was starting to form on the grass.
Oh, it's fucking cold.
It was cold, and we were just, and I can just remember the moon shining through the pine trees, and just us sitting down after everyone had gone, going, "Well, that was huge."
Yeah, that's right.
But it was huge. But I don't think we actually realised how huge it was until the aftermath. Like once you start to count the coins.
Yeah, with such youthful enthusiasm for what we were doing back then, we probably hadn't eaten since breakfast, and it was probably like 4:00 the next morning, and we were probably running on pure nicotine and Bundaberg rum by then, surely.
Absolutely, it would have been the good stuff. And mate, look, I don't think we actually have we've done a lot of gigs since.
Oh yeah,
and we've done different shows in different places, university gigs, Woombai Hall gigs, been involved in shows organised by the punks.
Sure.
For me, I don't think that there was one that it was ever as big as that first punk party.
Yeah. Do you know what I put it down to, Adam? I put it down to it's really the people. It's really the audience. I mean, the event organisers and the band and the musicians that came along to play. We were outnumbered by many fold of the people who actually came, and the people that came, it was their night. They identified with it. That was their night, and it wasn't for us. We didn't need to do any crowd control. This was for them.
And they self-managed, right? And this is the thing: is the vibe was good. People were in there. They were there for a good time, and I think people appreciated the fact because there was nothing to do for if you're underage punker, or even an underage kid who was just interested in music, for that matter.
Mm-hmm. That's right,
and they appreciated it. Like I said, we did this solidly for about between 95 through to probably late 97.
Mm-hmm.
We were pretty constant in doing stuff with shows and taking over radio stations and all this other stuff, which we'll talk about in later episodes. But it was really the perfect storm of not much going on. There was a reason why it happened from a band's perspective, but the need for it to happen.
Yeah,
was
absolutely
greater than the need of the bands to play.
There was such a huge need for it because things outside of our world were affecting our little world. You had grunge broke in the early 90s. You had even band, like I'm trying to think of like what was popular with high school kids at the time. Green Day had just released Dookie. The Ramones, I think, were releasing so the Mondo Bizarro or Acid Eaters. Anyway, the Ramones were up there as well. Soundgarden. So you had a lot of rock bands, like heavy rock bands, making it huge in other parts of the world. And, the Seattle scene, that's so fantastic, and the London scene. Yeah. And the Berlin scene, that's fucking fantastic. Like, let's read about it in like NME. That's fucking amazing. Imagine if that was here. You just dream about it. So if you can have, and I'm not talking about this thing that we did being at any level of that at all. This was in a country town hall. People respected and preserved it as just a good Saturday night out, because it was their chance to go and see some rock and roll. A show had been, I don't want to say tailor-made, a show had been put on for people to go to, not the other way around, And if you go, even now, I'll tell you now, the secret is, if you're someone out there who's listening to this and wants to put on events, try and do as much all ages shows as you possibly can. And do it all with a good heart. Do it with all the right the right intentions, which is to give someone else, a younger person, a good, safe Saturday night out without risking street cred or anything. You can street cred the shit out of that. Have the fucking exploited come and play as far as I'm concerned, but approach the event with a good heart and that you mean to give them a good Saturday night that they'll remember for a few years to come.
Truer words were never spoken. And to that, what I learnt from the first punk party, not being directly involved in putting it on as much as like you guys were, but involved in viewing and helping out on the night. A lot of the things I learnt from that, I went on to probably deliver in excess of 500, 600 all ages shows on the on the Sunshine Coast between 97 through to the mid 2000s. So
it's huge.
Even to the point where we set up a all ages hardcore venue in the black box at the ambulance station in Nambour, which was only just a couple of clicks away. So
I saw a couple of great shows there.
So man, look, I think I think that this is a really nice way to wrap this back around. Like I think we've really dug in deep and unpacked the first punk party and given it the oxygen that it required to sort of like fill in where we were at the time and what it's meant moving forward. As much as it been the Cane Chronicles, it's origin stories for you and I as well. So
and it's not something that you and I walk around with in our back pocket going, that was reliving the past. This is
it actually takes we're not ask us about it. That really, and this is really the main perpetrator of this is Borgie from Bad Habit Records.
Okay, Borgie was there too.
More disrupt you stuff, please. And look, Borgie, here we go. Like he's doing the yards now in Nambour. He's like in the area where we grew up, doing it and doing some great stuff. But look, we'll keep on if you keep asking for it, people. Listeners will keep on talking about it, but but
there's heaps more to this timeline that we did,
and we'll keep on popping these ones up as we go. But right now, look, I guess
let's wrap it.
If you want to get in contact with us, jump on the socials at Wastelands Radio Show or Wastelands RS on Twitter. We're on TikTok, we're on Instagram, we're on Facebook, we're on the Gmail, so wastelandsradioshow@gmail.com. Send us one of those old-fashioned emails or go to wastelands.com.au. Marco?
Yes, sir.
Thank you so much for unpacking that with me. We are coming up to our 100th show. Listeners, let us know what you want to see in the next season. Our 100th show will also land on the same date as our 3-year anniversary. So
love that. We're doing well.
Mate, let's tie this one up and move on. So is there anything more you would like to add?
Good night from me.
And it's good night from him.
Before you say another word,
it's over! It's finished!
Like this.